My grandmother was the only person to make me feel loved growing up. All I've ever had to do was think of her, and I could immediately feel the love she had for me. I remember going to her house often when I was much younger, especially in kindergarten. My school back then was right by her house, and I changed into uniform at her place before going to school. So some mornings I'd lie and say that I was sick so I could just stay there and hang out with her. My grandmother never failed to make sure I knew how much she loved me. She'd always remind me that I was her one and only grandson. But I don't know if she would have still loved me had she knew how fucked in the head I really was. Yeah, sometimes it feels like a dumb question because a part of me knows better that her love was likely truly unconditional. I loved her more than she ever knew, and that was my mistake. I spent so much time being miserable, especially over a relationship that wasn't worth the effort, and trying to resist suicide that as the years went on, I saw her significantly less and less. I remember at some point I even made a mental note that I try to see her more often, once a month even, but I never did. When I made my post a year ago on Instagram, I called myself a shitty grandson, and even though I soon realized she wouldn't want me speaking about myself this way, it doesn't exactly make it any less true. I'd only seen her a few times a year leading up to her death, and when she died I couldn't help but feel as if she never really knew how much I loved her. She's literally the only reason I didn't turn out to be what I very easily could have been, and she didn't know that. A part of me feels resentment towards the things I had to deal with growing up because it's what led to me being so distant from her. And my grandmother went through a lot in her life. So much. I don't think she ever truly knew peace, but I was the single greatest thing in her life, and she made sure I knew that, and I failed to truly reciprocate. I never went to her funeral or wake. I didn't have to see her like that. I also didn't have to be in the same building as my mother or have to hear a single goddamn thing that could possibly come out of her mouth. I didn't want to have to be consoled by a bunch of people I didn't even know. I didn't want to have to hear that someone was sorry for my loss, especially because I knew damn well they didn't know just how much it was I lost that day. I didn't even want to admit that she was dead, even though the last time I saw her she already was. I wouldn't have wanted to give an honest eulogy even if I did go, because that just would have started drama. But nothing would have felt more degrading than having to give a censored one instead. Losing a loved one never really gets any easier. You just forget about it until you don't, and then you think about how degrading it is that someone who used to provide so much love and comfort is nothing more than a skeleton or a pile of ashes now. All those memories, that physical human being that used to have feelings, dreams, memories, a life on this earth, reduced to a pile of fucking bones. I was always led to believe that grief is just seemingly a one-time thing for the most part, and that people just eventually move on and aren't really affected by it anymore after a certain point. But last August I realized that I don't really think that's true for anyone that's actually lost someone close to them. The initial blow of them dying never really ends. It just kind of pauses and unpauses itself at random. Or maybe that's only how people with regret towards the deceased feel. Because if you know you did all you could with a person and right by that person, then beyond the effects of the initial blow, I assume there really isn't any grief, just peace. And I know better than to say I'll never find it. I'm only 19. I have so many potential years ahead of me. So much growth. So many changes, so it'd be stupid of me to confidently say that. If anything, I think starting a family when I'm ready might force me into that state of peace. I'd be thrusted into a whole realm of man and adulthood that would likely make it impossible to still feel like the same boy I was when I was 6. But maybe what I just said was actually the stupid comment. Either way, it feels like peace after grief is a privilege that had to be earned while they were still here. And even when you do go on to achieve an endless number of things, they will never be there to witness it. They will never be there to congratulate you. They will never be there to tell you how proud they are of you. They will never be able to see your evolution as a person. They will never see your children. They will never see your wife. And they won't get to meet her either. You'll never get to present yourself to them as that man you always dreamed of being. And sometimes that shit feels like a chip on your shoulder, telling you that no matter what heights you reach in life, it makes no difference because they can't fucking see it. Death makes people a level of desperate you will literally never witness anywhere else because the options to deal with it are basically non-existent. It's weird being a nihilist that doesn't believe in an afterlife, yet still thinking it's possible that the energy I send towards her could still be received and felt in some way. Like speaking directly to her will somehow allow her to hear what I have to say. I know it's not possible. I know she's nothing more than bone or ash. I'm talking to no one, yet I still do it anyway, because it's literally the only option I have. Losing her made me understand even better now why humanity has always demanded there be an afterlife. If for no other reason than the fact that after someone dies, there's naturally a quiet, patient part of you waiting for your own death, so you can see them again in some capacity. Loss makes you ask questions that literally no human being could possibly answer, and you know that. But no matter how many years pass, you still ask those same cosmic questions. It feels impossible to cope with the loss itself. And you can only try to cope with the fact that it's not possible. And people deep down understand this. It's why you can visit a tombstone, talk to a grave, and nobody will look at you funny or even lose respect towards you. It's also probably why there's a good chance my psychotic break didn't cause the same damage socially that it would have otherwise. The moment you found out they died and the seconds before, it becomes cemented in your mind forever. I was in my room that morning watching Buffy on my phone while laying in bed, and then my dad opens the door. The thing about that memory is that it is completely silent and plays out like a static camera angle. I can't remember any sounds. I don't remember what my dad said to me or even his physical body. I can't remember anything past the door opening. Every time I think about it and I get to that part, it just starts over again exactly the same. I think my brain is literally incapable of playing that memory how it happened because it still can't process the fact that my grandmother's actually fucking gone. And the thing that makes that memory so fucking haunting to me is that all it is a silent memory of me watching Buffy and then the door opening. That's it. The last thing I can remember is that door opening and innocently wondering what my dad wanted, and then it starts all over again. No matter how much time passes, the memory never changes. A memory that genuinely feels like the closest I will ever get to experiencing what hell is actually like. I still don't even know how she died. I asked my dad to explain it to me twice, and both times he told me I still failed to understand what actually killed her or why it happened. I can't even remember what he told me. I don't understand why she was taken from me when she had decades left that she could have lived. Even with her many health problems, dying is just unacceptable to me. I don't understand why she had to die on the 30th of August. Why that day specifically? I had reason to believe a family member might have been dead last September, and I remember that within seconds, all I could think about was why that day. Why the 15th of September? I was obsessing over it, trying to piece together any logical explanation as to why that date in particular had to be the day they were taken from me. I didn't think about what this would mean for me moving forward, or start crying, or anything like that. Instead, I said to myself, so today's the date. It was the only thing I could think about. They turned out to be fine, but I will never forget that. I don't dream about her often, but whenever I do, it plays out as normal as any other until I slowly start to realize that the dream is impossible because she already died, and I'm forced to wake up in tears. And I don't think people talk about it enough. Crying is physically fucking painful. I hate it. I learned about 5 years ago the things my grandmother did when she was younger, and without getting into details, she is indirectly responsible for all the things I had to endure as a child. But even when I found this out, it was literally impossible to care, and I never have. I felt nothing towards it. Nothing I heard changed the fact that she was the only person to make me feel loved. Nothing that I witnessed of her behavior growing up changed that either. When I made that post about her a year ago on my Instagram, I largely did it because I wanted her legacy tied to mine because I didn't want her memory to be forgotten after I died. And that's still true. That's why this video exists. Back then I wanted the people that remembered me to remember that she had died too. I was also terrified that I myself would forget about her once my planned drug spiral would inevitably go too deep. I don't just want you to know that she existed, I need you to know. I need the world to know how much I loved her, which just isn't possible with words. And I know one day humanity will go extinct. I know that's not truly possible to immortalize her. I don't care. Any genuine thank you a person could give to me also doubles as a thank you to her. She saved my life and was the reason I protected my heart while she was here, and she never got to know that. And then she managed to do it for a second time long after she passed. I know that all my grandmother would have wanted for me was to be happy, and last year I promised her that I would do at least everything in my power to achieve that before potentially still choosing to commit suicide. But sometimes I still don't know what she would have thought of me had I built this same career. I'm going down a path of unapologetic degeneracy. I can't imagine she would have been particularly thrilled, regardless of how much or how little she would have seen. I don't know if she'd be proud of me and my work, if she would have been okay with the things I'm willing to say on here. Even before she died, I sometimes wondered if we would have had a falling out due to the life I would have chose to lead. With her potentially taking a lot of issue with it and me trying to avoid emotional conflict in general, we would just end up not talking. I don't know how many years I have left in my life, but I don't want to get old and forget about her and start losing memories. I would say I can't let it happen, but it's not really up to me. It'd be disingenuous for me to say she was a great person, but she was great to me, and that's all that matters.